I know this sounds weird, but it's true. This happened when I was 17 years old. I was at a summer camp on a forested island in the middle of nowhere. I was put in a group with older kids, but I was still a year older than everyone else. The girls in my cabin snored loudly, the guys weren't my type, and one night we had to sleep on the ground with raccoons running around us. I was not enjoying myself at all. I wanted to go back to my comfortable villa. I felt like I was living in a swamp, just like Shrek's. So, on the third or fourth morning, I came up with a plan. I have a shellfish allergy, and the camp had my EpiPen and other medications on hand. While waiting in line for the bathroom at breakfast, I decided to put my acting skills to the test. I started breathing heavily, widened my eyes, and made a big show of it. The other campers were like, "She's dying," and they rushed me to the medical staff. I wheezed out B. The medical staff asked me if I was allergic, and I gave them a look like, "Come on, guys." I mimed using an EpiPen on my leg, and they quickly grabbed it and administered the shot. By this point, a crowd of 8 to 12-year-olds had gathered around me, looking terrified. The ambulance arrived, and the paramedics put in an IV, checked my heart rate, and asked me questions. They were curious about my voice, which is pretty deep and raspy for a girl. I told them it's just my natural voice and not related to the allergic reaction. I was taken to the health hut to be kept an eye on. I had to stay there for a few hours before I could rejoin the camp activities. But if I had another reaction, they would have to take me to the hospital. I responded with a sulky okay in my best traumatized but also annoyed teenager tone. I lay there, staring at the bunk above me. Since we weren't allowed to bring our phones to camp, I was super bored. About 50 minutes later, I decided to put on another show. The medical staff took me to a smaller room and gave me another dose of epinephrine. The ambulance returned, and the paramedics said they had no choice but to take me to the hospital. I got into the ambulance with about 70 kids staring at me, and we drove on the bumpiest road I've ever been on. Suddenly, we stopped. I wondered, why are we stopped? I was hearing a sound like a helicopter. Me, is that AF King helicopter? Ambulance guy, we're on an island, dude.
Me.
Getting into the helicopter was a crazy experience. The space was so small. I was relieved I didn't have claustrophobia. The helicopter pilot tried to keep me calm by asking me about where I was from, trying to distract me from the situation. "So Scarlett, how old are you? Are you from around here?" Me, "I'm 17 and sort of. I live in." The helicopter pilot said, "No way. My family is from there too. I don't get to spend much time there since I work in air ambulance. My kids are around your age. Which school do you go to?" He was trying to make small talk and keep me calm. Me, I go to. Helicopter guy, "Oche, no way my kids go there. You're a sophomore, right?" Me, "Yay." Helicopter guy, "My daughter is a sophomore too." I asked the pilot again, "Is it okay to ask, or is this private? But what's your daughter's name?" Maybe I know her. I was still trying to make conversation and distract myself from the situation. I'm sick of typing helicopter guy. His name is now HG. HG Penelope Millard, not real name. Me, "No way, I do know her. She's good friends with one of my good friends. You probably know her, Kyra, not real name." HG, "Yep, Kyra is over at our place all the time." What a small world. Me, "Don't know if this violates HIPAA since I'm asking you to give away my name, but tell her I said hi, LOL. HG, "I'll tell her I lifted one of her friends to the hospital, haha. You should tell her." Me, passes TF out from the Benadryl. 2 hours later, my mom arrived at the hospital, looking frazzled. She asked me, "What on earth did you do?" I just rolled my eyes and continued reading my book. I spent a bit more time in the hospital, and then I was finally able to go home. On a side note, I had left all my stuff at the camp, so I had to go back at the end of the week to pick it up. I did not tell my mom that I faked the whole thing, obviously. A month or so later, I got tested for allergies. When the results came back, I was shocked. I'm severely allergic to all kinds of bees, wasps, and hornets. I'd never been stung before, but I've always been terrified of them. I couldn't believe I had a full-blown anaphylactic allergy. I'm not sure when I'll muster the courage to tell my parents. Maybe on their deathbed. Sorry for the long story and the weird formatting. I'm typing this on my phone. I approached Kyra at school and said, "Your dad airlifted me off an island." She was taken aback. Would I explain the story to her, leaving out the part about faking the bee sting? She laughed and said, "Yeah, he mentioned helping one of my friends on the job, but I had no idea it was you. It was a funny coincidence." TLDR, faked a bee sting, got airlifted off an island. Turns out I'm actually allergic to bees. Story 2. I have a job in a store, and we recently rearranged the layout. I'm the one who helps customers with returns from other companies. Because of the changes, my workstation was moved. Now I handle returns from other companies at the old customer service desk. Meanwhile, returns for items bought in our store are handled at the main cash registers near the entrance. My job responsibilities expanded to include handling online purchases that are too large for customers to carry themselves, in addition to processing returns. There were rumors circulating about changes to our phone system, with some colleagues claiming the phones would be moved to the main registers, while others believed they would remain at the third-party returns desk. I was reprimanded for not answering every phone call, but the truth was that I was often busy helping customers in long lines at my return area. I sought guidance from my manager, explaining that I'm happy to answer calls, but I can't abandon my duties with customers waiting in line to do so. My manager clarified how to handle phone calls and put the rumors to rest, confirming that the phones would remain at my return area. So, on my next shift, I decided to take a different approach. Whenever I answered a call, I would announce the caller's name and department over the radio. If no one from that department responded and the call was transferred back to me, I would simply ignore it. This was my way of following the rules while also highlighting the need for a better system. I did my part by answering the phones as instructed and redirecting the calls to the appropriate departments. If no one else picked up, it wasn't my responsibility. To be honest, I didn't want the phones at my station in the first place, since most calls were for other departments and I couldn't answer them. By following my manager's instructions and announcing the calls over the radio, I was able to handle the situation in a way that worked for me. Problem solved. I was hired to handle third-party returns, not to spend my entire day answering phone calls. If I'm being criticized for not being available to answer calls, it's time for the company to recognize that we need more staff to share the workload. I'm focused on doing my job to the best of my ability, and if that means prioritizing returns over phone calls, so be it. It's time for management to take responsibility and provide the necessary resources to ensure we can effectively manage our workload.